Hey everyone, welcome to Taste Different Gaming Appetizers. What are we talking about this time? Well, Naughty Dog, The Last of Us. It's not The Last of Us. We're here to talk about it again. So it's the a possibility of part 3 happening. You know, if you thought, is there going to be a part 3? Well, the information might have got a little bit juicy. So Naughty Dog's president, Neil Druckmann, has confirmed that more The Last of Us is on the way, as he explains that he feels there is one more chapter in this particular story. He confirmed that plans for The Last of Us Part 3 and a new documentary about the development of Last of Us Part 2, explaining that while it won't be the studio's next game, he feels that he could come up with one more chapter. He doesn't yet have a story planned for the sequel, but he does have a concept for another game that will be its own thing, but will also act like a through line for all three. So, you know, it sounds like Last of Us Part 3 is in the workings, right? Very early stages of the workings. Druckmann also hints that Joel's brother Tommy may get his own spin-off at some point in the future. As far as the story for it has already been written up. It was apparently shelved so Naughty Dog could focus on improving its culture and work-life balance. But Druckmann also hasn't given up on the project just yet and thinks that it will resurface at some point in the future as something, either a video game, a TV show, or I don't know, a flip book, who knows, something else. Druckmann claimed last year that Naughty Dog was already well into its next project, which is currently, we don't know anything about. It is not Last of Us Part 3. So I'll put that out there. It is something different. But according to the comments in the documentary and rumors that have been swirling, that basically, you know, Last of Us Part 3 is in the conceptual phase. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, here's my thing. If they were going to make a Last of Us Part 3, well, no. If they're going to make a new Last of Us game, what I'd rather them do is focus on a new set of characters in a new part of the world during this time. I would like to see other stories that have gone on. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be about Joel and Ellie. I mean, you know, spoiler alert, Joel's dead, but it doesn't have to be about Ellie and Abby. Just like follow a new set of people in a new like part of the US or a different country altogether, right? Where the spore plague or whatever it is going on, and kind of their adventure. I can't remember what it was called, but their adventure through the whole, like, you know, thing or something like that. Or if you wanted to keep it, you know, fans would be like, oh my God, then just make it to where, like, there was that, make it like a prequel where, you know, because after, spoiler alert again, if you never played the first one, after Joel's daughter dies, and there's a section there where it's like, what is it, like 3 years later or something like that? So like, what happened in those 3 years? Like make a game that follows Joel through those 3 years, right? Because that's the start of the pandemic, right? The rising of the spores. So that would be really cool to see, right? Instead of the aftermath, like what happened leading up to the aftermath. But that's really what I would prefer for me specifically, right? If they do make a part 3, I hope they just follow Ellie and something going on with her or something like that. Abby as a character, sorry for the fans of Abby, I did not care for that character, and that I feel like, no offense to Abby, but I feel like she ruined part 2 for me. I just didn't like the character. I just, and that's what ruined the game for me, right? I love the first one, and I love the first half of the second one, but the second half of the second one, I'm not a big fan of, and really just didn't care for it. And it's unfortunate, because I like the first half of the game, and I love the first one. I thought the first one was fantastic. So, you know, it is what it is. Some people really love Last of Us 2. Some people are on the same camp as I am, where they're not a huge fan. I don't absolutely hate it. You know, I'm not like it's the worst game ever or anything. I just, I'm disappointed on the direction it went and the character and some of the characters they introduced in it. So, but that's just me. But Pat, what do you think? Last of Us Part 3. Are you excited?
I'm with you. I would like to see some other stories, but he says it's going to be a throughput, right? Which will connect them all together. So it's going to be something. And they've already done like time jumps within the game before, so we could see something like that. And I'll kind of agree with you. The Abby storyline ruined the second one for me. And I can't put my finger on what it was. It just felt like the whole time she was just a whiny, cry, annoying character, and that you're forced to play through that storyline. You know, the Joel dying thing, I was like, oh, they killed them off, and I'm like, okay. So now we're gonna follow Ellie along in her story for revenge, and I'm like, okay, little cliche, but it is what it is. And I'm like, it was fun, the gameplay was interesting, but then you get to the Abby storyline, and it was just the whole, I don't know, it just felt like Crybaby City for the whole second half. And then with the whole final scene with her and Ellie battling it out and all that, I'm just like, I'm over this. It's even ruining the Ellie storyline for me a little bit. Actually, the ending did kind of ruin the Ellie storyline a little bit for me. I was like, can this just end so I can get it done and move on with it? And that's how I felt. And it was over. I mean, when it ended, they've kind of left it open to more or the end of the story, right? I mean, either one could play out because Ellie came home, and you should have played it. If you're not playing it and we're this far out, then you're not gonna miss anything. And then they both went their separate ways, essentially, right? That's eventually the end of the second game. And so Ellie and Abby part ways and go about do their own thing. Ellie comes home, empty house. Abby goes her way with her newfound friend. So I don't want to continue those stories, because if they do a Last of Us Part 3, if they do a Last of Us Part 3 and it's a continuation of the story, they're going to be a continuation of Abby's story and a continuation of Ellie's story. I can see more, and to be honest, I can actually see there being more of a reason for Abby's continuation, right? Because she's in the boat and out to sea, but Ellie comes home, so her story could end. And do I want a whole Last of Us Part 3 with Abby? If she's whiny and crybaby and there's a second one, I don't want that. But so I'd rather see a whole nother game. But the thing that I find most interesting out of this article is the game that the next game is coming up that we've already know they're working on something that is not going to be Uncharted, and it's not going to be Last of Us, and is rumored to be a new IP, which I'm kind of excited for. Naughty Dog is really good at telling stories in their games. I mean, I love their games. I would like to see something new. And if it's something brand new, then sign me up. I'll play it. So, what am I? Yeah, I'm glad that it's not another Uncharted. And I'm glad that it's not another Last of Us. But they still have a whole plethora of other games it could be, but none of them are as popular as those two titles, I should say. I mean, I guess you could say Crash Bandicoot's kind of somewhat popular, but I hope it's not another Crash Bandicoot game or something, or Jack and Daxter or something, So, but I am excited for another Naughty Dog IP. That's what I am. I wasn't looking forward to Factions, which is their like MOBA style, PUBG style, Fortnite style game. And I'll be honest with you, I was glad to hear it got canceled. I was like, okay, but I wasn't going to play it anyway. So it wasn't really no skin off my back, so, but to those who are looking forward to it, that's disappointment, and that sucks. But at the same time, I didn't cry in my Cheerios over it or anything. So, but I like Naughty Dog games. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the first half of The Last of Us 2. I remember when I got my PS4, I think it was, Nick gave me a copy of The Last of Us remastered or whatever that I borrowed from him and played it. I'm like, oh, this is freaking awesome. I never played it until then. I didn't play it on the PS3 when it came out on that, and I just got the remastered one when it came out on PS4 because I got a PS4 for Horizon, and Nick's like, well, you got to try this game, and it was a damn good game. And I own a copy of remastered now because of that, because I had his copy, and I'm like, well, I've been playing this too long. He probably wants this game back. Let me get my own copy, Kind of like a lot of games that I borrow from him. Like I feel bad for having it so long, and I give it back, and I go get my own copy. But but it's a good like lending library. You're like, do I like this game or not? I go to Nick's house and borrow it, and be like, I like it, so you can have yours back. I'll go get mine. So, um, I think the last thing I did that with was Metroid Dread. I'm like, oh, this is an awesome game. I guess I'm gonna go get my own copy. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm not looking forward to another Naughty Dog 3 unless I hear it's a totally separate story. Because I don't think I can relive another Abby storyline. Unfortunately, and I don't know if it's the actor, the actress who played Abby, that the inflection was there, or if whoever the writers was just did her dirty, in my opinion. But it felt like just tween angst to the millionth degree, that it was just woe is me, cry this, cry that. Oh, this is so hard, and of course it's hard for everybody. It's a freaking pandemic of a cordyceps freaking virus, from the fungus. The fungus was among them, and everybody was affected, not just Abby. Now, knowing that Joel did what he did because we did it, because we're the ones that did it in the story, so it is whatever. She got revenge, but it would have been a better story if she wasn't just so over the top emotional for me, and it would have been a better second half of the game, I felt. But I'm not looking forward to a part 3 unless I hear that it's not with those two, not with Ellie, not even with Ellie. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the Ellie and her story. Move on to new people. I might be interested in playing the Tommy, the spinoff game, because like I said, Naughty Dog is great storytellers. They make great games, but I'm over what they did after 2.
Yeah.
We know the story now. We know what happened after they went to the hospital and what Joel did when he was in the hospital,
right?
And how they got back to where they are. So we know the whole story now.
Yeah, we know the story. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, I would like for them to follow somebody new, like like I said in the beginning. I agree with you. I don't think they should follow Ellie. What makes most sense would be for them to follow Abby, but I don't want to follow Abby either. I don't like Abby's character, and I think it's the same reason, right? Like, yes, we know what Joel did, but it's like, and maybe it was the way it was written. Maybe that's why. Like, Joel dying is not my problem, right? They could have killed Joel. Fine, kill him. I think it would have been better, in my opinion, if for some reason or another, Abby's group, somehow there's Abby's group that Joel and Ellie come in contact with, and Abby's group is trying to do X, Y, or Z, whatever it is. And so Joel and Ellie decide they're going to go with them for whatever reason, right? Write that part in, whatever that is, right? To the people that write stuff. As you progress through the game, Abby figures out that Joel did, and that's who he is, right? And so maybe there comes a point in the game where the clickers come in, and Joel's in an area where he can't get out, and Abby has the ability to save him, but decides not to, because at this point she's figured out who he is, but is also torn because she's got to know Joel. And so she's conflicted at this point because she likes Joel, because she's got to know him, because they've been adventuring in the game together, with their little group. But at this time, she's also conflicted because of what happened, right? And then so she decides not to save him, and he dies. And there's that whole kind of conflict and stuff going on, at that point between Abby and Nellie. And it may not have been as like revenge story-esque as it was, because again, Ellie knows Abby and they've been adventuring together at the beginning of this game, right? This would happen like more towards the end of the game than at the beginning. And I feel like that would be a better way to, then you would like Abby, right? I feel like what they did with Abby is, you're right, they made her a spoiled brat, right? I mean, you got to think of it like Joel and Ellie, they basically had to scrounge and develop this community. Abby grew up in the military might, right? I mean, she had pretty much, she grew up in the government, essentially. And the government provided because when you play her, she's in this high military tech. They got every resource and thing that they need, right? So she's like the rich kid on the block, and Ellie and Joel are like the poor people, right? And so like yeah, she gets her revenge against Joel, whatever the case may be, but it's like, it's like they try to, they go out and they kill Joel. She kills Joel, and she's just kind of I would say a bitch from the beginning. And then as you play through her and get to know her more, they try to do this redemption arc on Abby. And for me, it just didn't work. Like for me as the player, I already hated Abby at this point. So you could try to because what the game tried to do is say I know you think Abby's it puts its hand on your shoulder and goes, I know you think Abby's a bad person, but she's really not. Look at her nice qualities. And it's like, no, you already blew that out of the water from the beginning. Like you already made me hate her to the 10th degree. You can't dig me out of this hole now. Right. And it's unfortunate. And again, it's unfortunate because I think the way they wrote it, and again, I'm not a writer, so I don't know how how to write good stories, but I just think the way they wrote it is maybe it was too quick in the beginning when all that happens. Maybe they didn't do enough character development of Abby for you to really like her as a character before, stuff hits the fan. I don't know. But again, at the end of 2, I don't want to follow Abby and I don't want to follow Ellie. I'd rather just follow a new group, or like you said, the Tommy spinoff or something like that, or follow just an entirely different group of people or something like that. Or maybe just a different timeline to connect all 3 of them or something.
Yeah, it's and I look at it like this. It's really hard to enjoy a game when you dislike the protagonist, right? And the protagonist is unlikable. And in my opinion, she ruins it in the first half of it's a ruined concept from as soon as it happens where she kills Joel and then you're playing Abby and you find out all these details and there's some cross story and to the point where you start playing Abby and you get more of the backstory. You're just you're making her more unlikable and before you start the redemption arc with the little boy that she's with, and or I can't remember, a little boy or a little girl. I think it's a little girl that looks
I think it's
like
a little girl. Yeah, it looks like a boy because it's got
shaved her hair and everything. Yeah. And so they, and so, but by that point, you're too much. You have too much dislike for Abby as a protagonist. In my opinion, I do. There's people that like Abby, and to each their own, right? Nobody's going to bash somebody for liking a game character story. But to me, it was just unenjoyable second half because she's such an unlikable protagonist for me. But so I don't want to see her again. I'll be honest, if The Last of Us Part 3 comes out, we would probably review it, unfortunately, in my opinion. Unfortunately, whatever. But if I had a choice, I would wait for it to go on sale. If I knew that it followed the same storyline as Abby and Ellie. Now, as soon as they say it's a different storyline, I'll be like, all right, I'm back on board with pre-ordering and everything. So
yeah, I would have to agree. I would still play it regardless, right? But if it said it was going to follow Abby, I might be more hesitant to wait and pick it up later, right?
Yeah, because I finished the game. I finished The Last of Us Part 2. You did too. I think Shane did too. We all finished it, even though it was a little bit of a slog to get through the last, I guess, not even quite half of the game, because you play half of it as Ellie, and then most of the second half is Abby, and then you take over as Ellie again for the last 16th or whatever of that. So yeah. So we would definitely play the new one again. It just depends on,
again, it just depends on the hype, and then of course, who we're following. Even following Abby, even though I didn't like Abby as a character, even if the third one was following Abby, I would still play it. Because I agree with Pat in the sense that Naughty Dog does a great job of telling stories. Their story-based games are fantastic, and their new IP, we don't know what it is yet, but I'm super looking forward to whatever it is, because it's probably going to be pretty good, right? So, but I just hope, if they're going to continue The Last of Us, I would just hope they, follow some new people or do something new with it, right? Don't follow Abby and Ellie. Just follow some new people, some different people, or something else going on somewhere else. I know that they say they want to tie it all 3 in, but I would really wish it was just something completely separate, but set in the universe, right? I like the universe. The universe is big. Set it somewhere else with different people. Let's get to know some other people, right? That would be cool. But We'll see. We'll see what they do. It'll be a while because they still got this next project coming out, and then they'll be working on last. So it'll be, it might be
At
a
least 6
PlayStation.
years.
Yeah, it'll be a PlayStation 6 game for sure. So, but you got anything else you want to add to this? All right. Well, let us know down in the comments below. What do you think? Are you excited for A Last of Us Part 3? What do you think of the Tommy spinoff? Are you interested in something like that? And, Naughty Dog's new IP. Have you heard anything about it? I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know if you guys have, but if you guys have or know anything about what their new IP might be, let us know down in the comments below. We'd like to hear if you heard any rumors out there or anything. But other than that, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Do us a favor, help us out and hit subscribe. It helps us by helping you help us. And hit the like button if you like this video. Also hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with new videos that we do all the time. We'll see you next time.